The Godfather Part III ain't the best of films. Making a follow-up to The Godfather Part I and II would be a near impossible task at the best of times. But when you've waited more than a decade and a half, the people involved, including director Francis Ford Coppola, are only in it for the money, then I think we can see why the film turned out the way it did. It's not terrible, and I'd argue that it's better than half the shit that comes out these days, but boy was The Godfather III a disappointment. So many things don't work. It's a massive step down from the previous two films in many categories. Al Pacino just plays himself. None of the big performers like Keaton and Talia Shire bring their A-game. There's Sofia Coppola. The cinematography makes it look like the film was set in the 90s and was some kind of made-for-TV reunion movie. The story is boring and confusing, the characters dull. Coppola wanted 6 months to write the script but was only given 6 weeks, and it really shows because you can instantly tell by watching the movie that this is a screenplay that needed touching up. The dialogue is atrocious in places, and the actors looked like they had no idea what to do with the lines that they were given. Remember Talia Shire's attempt at a sinister and foreboding, "Now they will fear you," which came off as a cheesy soap opera line, or Eli Wallach almost looking directly at the camera with his "Blessed are the peacemakers" line. Sometimes it's like the film wants you to know how bad it is compared to the first two films, because it keeps bringing up references, like Brando scolding James Caan with his "Never let anyone outside the family know what you're thinking. I think your brain's gone soft," after Sonny's moment of recklessness in front of Salozzo, which kickstarts the entire conflict in the film. And then you have the callback in The Godfather III, Pacino blankly talking to Andy Garcia's ear and stating, "Never let anyone know what you're thinking," which just comes off as pretty random, seeing as though the only other two people in the room are Al Neri and Connie. I want to give you an example of a crap piece of dialogue and a solution to make this scene a lot better, to make it rich like these scenes from the previous two films. This is a very pedantic and pointless rant. It's not a big scene, it's only 2 seconds long, and improving it is like rearranging the deck chairs in the dining room while the Titanic sinks to its doom. So yeah, in other words, if you made it this far, I've probably wasted a few minutes of your life, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more time-wasting videos. But the scene in question is the one near the beginning where they're having that big party. As I've mentioned in the past, I do run into copyright issues on the channel, so I won't show the scene itself. You can check it out on YouTube, but it's the one where we are reintroduced to a lot of the characters from the past, like Johnny Fontaine, Kay and Connie, and introduced to new ones like Vincent. They all take this big picture. The Godfather theme plays, and as they walk back to their places, a massive cake is rolled out. And then Enzo the baker pops up and says, "Godfather, this is the cake for you and your family from Enzo the baker." And then he hands Michael a knife, and after the cake is cut, Enzo wheels it away and pisses off, never to be seen again. Now what is the issue? My issue here is, and yes, I did say it's hardly the biggest problem in the film, but why the hell would Enzo the baker refer to himself as Enzo the baker? As if Don Corleone is in the early stages of dementia and has to be reminded who the guy is. Who talks like that? Who goes around to people they already know and introduces themselves with their job description? "Hi Dad, I'm Andy, the guy who pushes the trolleys at Tesco's. Hi kids, I'm Uncle Phil, the Shah of Iran. Hello there, I'm Luca Brasi, infamous mob hitman. Ah shit, I've just incriminated myself." It's so clunky and painfully awkward. Enzo is clearly the man who the Corleones go to for all their bakery needs, and yet Enzo feels the need to apparently constantly remind everyone that yes, he is Enzo the baker. Not just any Enzo, but Enzo the fucking baker. The Don who can poison all your wedding guests if you piss him off, and even once scared off Vito Corleone's would-be hitman in the first film. Again, it's another stiff callback to the first film where Michael is in the hospital and he doesn't recognize Enzo who approaches to visit the Don, and he's like, "I am Enzo the baker, the baker." But there's no need for him to say, "I'm Enzo the baker," 20 years later to a man he already knows. It's just exposition for us to know that he is the same Enzo from the first film, and an entire segment of the movie that's supposed to evoke a sense of nostalgia and remembrance given all these characters returning who were in previous films. But people just don't talk like that in real life. It's like there's something wrong with him that he feels the need to repeat himself. Like in the first film where he's like, "For your father, for your father." Maybe he's Jimmy 2 times his dad. It would have been much better if he greets Michael without saying who he is and gives him the knife, and someone approaches him and just says something like, "Hey Enzo, I'd like you to meet yada yada yada." Or Michael simply looks at the cake and takes the knife and says, "Thank you Enzo." We wouldn't think anything of it, but then on a rewatch, you might notice that his name is Enzio. Think to yourself, wait, wasn't there a baker in the first film called Enzio? Check the credits and put 2 and 2 together, and then it would be a great minor little moment where you could tell your mates, "Hey, that's Enzo the baker from the first film." And it would be a great little piece of trivia, and I could make a cool video on it titled "The Secret Character Who Made a Cameo from the First Film," instead of wasting your time with this video. Because the thing is, They did this very same thing in the same scene with Vincent's mother, Lucy Mancini. They brought back the same actress who Sonny bangs at his sister's wedding in the first film and then have her arrive with Vincent. They never mention that she's the same woman that Sonny boned all those years back and then had Vincent as an illegitimate child. They never tell us, but it's something you can organically work out and discover for yourself. And the lack of spoon feeding here and the movie making you critically think in order to reach that conclusion is a win for the film. But it's a shame the screenplay is so lazy throughout the rest of the movie that these moments are rare. I mean, look at how many videos I've made on The Godfather and The Godfather Part II, and I've still got so many ideas for future videos. Did Vito have a say in the Five Family hit? The deeper reasoning behind Tom Hagen being out? Luca Brassi's origin story? Who opened the drapes before the assassination attempt on Michael? Etc, etc. But how many analytical videos have I made on The Godfather III? None that I can think of. That's because the film lacks the nuanced, deep, rich moments that make you ponder like the first two films. Anyway, rant over. If I haven't bored you to tears and you've made it this far, thanks for watching and subscribe for more videos.